Man, we just got off the line with Mike Laval, and we talked about some of these group of five situations, and especially in your conference there in the American Conference,
Yeah.
where guys come in, they do great jobs, they move on to greener pastures, more money. You saw it 2 years ago with Justin Fuente, who did a fine job with Virginia Tech. Memphis, though, continuing to win and considering the recent football past of winning 2 and 3 football games for long stretches of time, you have to feel good about what happened this past football season.
Absolutely. Second time in program history that we've gone to three straight bowl games. I think that, that shows on our part, one of the big things has always been, and it's always a stretch or a struggle with group of five, but especially with a basketball power like Memphis, is keeping that momentum going and giving the resources to football that it needs to be successful. And I think this administration has clearly stepped up and done that. And we've shown that we'll pay a football coach. We're not going to cheap out and go the $300,000-$400,000 route. We're going to pay a coach. And we were really, really fortunate, I think, to get Mike Norvell, and he's been fantastic until I believe it was Monday of this week. He was the youngest coach in FBS, and Mike Sanford took that title, who actually just replaced Jeff Brom at our opponent on Tuesday at Western Kentucky.
So everybody knows the name Paxton Lynch, but he didn't play for you this past year. He
Nope.
did get a little bit of playing time for the Denver Broncos. So a lot of people are going to see your football team for the first time this season when you take on Western Kentucky next week in the Boca Raton Bowl. So tell us a little bit about what the Tigers accomplished this year.
Well, the Tigers, take out. We had two really, really rough outings against Navy, who makes a lot of teams look bad, and then an absolute slaughter by Tulsa. But other than that, early in the season we had a huge, we blew Bowling Green out 77-3. And then the win over Temple was a huge win for us, and the win over Houston. The Memphis football team is one that I've never quite seen a team take advantage of big plays and put big plays together like Memphis does. In the Temple game, Tigers were down. Temple was just, doing what Temple does and just basically putting your head in a meat grinder and just over and over and over. And we got just a couple big plays, got a couple breaks. One ended up winning that game, kind of going away. And then a lot of people saw the Houston game that right there at the very end of the season when Tom Herman had already, obviously made some sort of commitment with Texas, and we made a couple big plays at the end. What people need to look for Memphis is simple. The passing, we're a very balanced offensive team. If we get the running game going, we're almost impossible to stop. We didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher this year, but we kind of did it by committee. We had Dorland Dorcius, who's Mr. Dependable, kind of every down back. And then, we bring in a lot of the young guys, Patrick Taylor and Daryl Henderson, who's a big, strong kid, fast. And so we're very balanced offensively. Raleigh Ferguson, who in the second half of that Tulsa game I spoke of, it was almost like, we mentioned this on Tigers Tonight, a light bulb went on for him, and everything kind of slowed down. Talking to Mike earlier, Raleigh Ferguson, a former Vol player that, had some mental issues, didn't really have his head in the game, kind of got off track, but he had the third most productive season of Tiger football history. So from the passing perspective, defensively, it's been a feast or famine for us. We've got a couple guys in Arthur Millette, one of our corners, who will probably play on Sundays. Chris Morley has a chance to make a roster. We lost Jackson Dillon early in the year on the defensive side of the ball, and that really hurt us. Austin Hall played huge for us defensively early, got banged up late. Again, Mike said it best, you can't really use injuries as an excuse, but a lot of people don't realize Memphis had a bye in week 2. And so we played every week after that. I think it ended up being 11 straight weeks. And that takes a physical toll on a team. And it really started to show late in the year on the defensive side of the ball. The Cincinnati game, we didn't know Raleigh leaves that game hurt. We don't know, how seriously he's injured. Austin Hall hurts himself. DeMarco Montgomery gets hurt. And it seemed like it just piled up and piled up. But, credit to this staff. I think this staff did a great job this year. And defensively, you look at the numbers and go, man, boy, these guys gave up a whole bunch of yards. And, but we got stops when we needed it. We one of the top teams in the country in turnover margins. And then the area that I think we have an advantage over most teams in the country is special teams. I mean, we've got probably the best kicker in the country in Jake Elliott. We've got the best freshman return man in the country in Tony Pollard, a kid from right here in Memphis. So I'm already in a season of prayer for the scoreboard operators at the Boca Raton Bowl. I think they're going to be let's just say the fingers are going to be tested on the old stat machines in Florida on Tuesday.
Fortunately, I think they're warmed up from previous Boca Raton Bowls. That seems to be the brief history down there. I think they're warmed up. They're ready to go. They've experienced this before. What was impressive to me about the Houston effort, John, and I saw that game gun to gun, was that not only that you defeated a very talented Houston team that everybody knows about, but at the point in the season in which you defeated Houston. Yep. So we knew about Houston early. Wow, they beat Oklahoma. This Houston team, they're gunning for a playoff spot. Oh, they came off the rails. They're mailing it in. They're going to finish out the season. No, they have Louisville come to town, and they just clamp down on the Heisman Trophy winner. And then, boom, you guys turn around the next week. Yeah. And a Houston defense that looked lights out in containing what's considered the best player in the country, and you guys tear him to shreds.
Yeah, second play from scrimmage, 67-yard touchdown. Proctor's just uncovered going down the side. And, the other, I want to give Houston some credit in that game because they fell behind big, and it would have been really easy for those kids, knowing their coach wasn't coming back, to just kind of fold up. And they came out in the second half and started dominating and took the lead. But, we did what we've done all year, and we made plays at the end. And Riley Ferguson, Anthony Miller is as good as a combination as there is in the group of five, and maybe even in the country. And that's a name you're certainly going to hear a lot next year, as both guys will be back. But yeah, the Houston game was maybe a more impressive win to me even than the win over Ole Miss last year. Now, the win over Ole Miss last year was huge. It was earlier in the season. But I was just really impressed with our moxie late in the year, especially in that Houston game, because we fell behind after being up, I think it was 24-3 or something like that. We fall behind. It's real easy for us to go, well, we're probably going to the Boca Raton Bowl, win or lose, so let's just, play out the string. But, man, there's Mike Norvell didn't take that. He wants to win every game, and credit to the coaching staff. They made calls, and we made plays. And that's hard to do when you've played for 11 straight weeks and you're in the fourth quarter of your last regular season game. You don't really have much to play for. But that's just a credit to the type of kids that we have and that coaching staff to keep everybody fired up.
All right, he is Tiger John M. on Twitter. Join him there. John Maddox from the Tigers Tonight podcast. And before we let you go, John, where can we track down your work?
Well, we're actually in the middle of moving podcast around, but right now we are on the oamnetwork.com/Tigers Tonight. It's where you can find all of our last season, and looking forward to Big Bowl game on Saturday, on Tuesday, and got some new podcasts coming out next year. So hard to believe college football is almost over. We only have about less than a month left.
I know, it's so bittersweet. Bittersweet for us junkies that love to watch college football. But we got 42 big ones left to go, and we'll try to catch as much as possible, including, again, Boca Raton Bowl, Memphis taking on Western Kentucky, and there should be plenty of scoring in that one. John, it's been a while, so we appreciate you jumping on here.
No problem. Thanks for having me anytime.